Creativity isn't just something that happens on a stage or behind an easel. It shows up in how students solve problems, tell stories, and see the world in new ways. At Crestwood, creativity isn't an extra, it's essential. From the art studio to the band room, from pointing a spotlight to editing a video, it's where confidence is built, voices are found, and ideas come to life. Welcome to District Discourse. Welcome to District Discourse. I'm Dr. Youssef Mosallam, Superintendent of the Crestwood School District. Today, we're exploring the power of creativity in schools, how programs in art, music, theater, and media help students express themselves, build confidence, and strengthen our community. Joining me today are talented educators and students who bring these programs to everyday life here at the Crestwood School District. So sitting to my right, we have Ms. Lisa Schoen, Riverside art teacher and CSD show director, Cayla Kolbusz, Crestwood High School drama coach, Mariam Farhat, a Riverside Middle School student involved in RMS News, Drama Tech, and Art Club, and directly to my left, she's sitting close to me because she's gonna make me smarter. Hannah Hamka, Crestwood High School drum major, lead drama tech, and Crestwood's representative on the Michigan Department of Education Student Advisory Council. Why does creativity matter in schools today?
I think that creativity helps every single path that our students or just humans go down. I think a lot of students think, oh, I don't want to go into art, I don't want to go into theater later in life, I don't need those things. But really, at least for theater, and I'm assuming with art as well, theater is more of a vehicle or a tool to help teach life skills outside of that art program. So whether it's teaching teamwork or how to deal with disappointment or how to multitask or how to organize and balance your life, the arts really help every person figure that out. And creativity is at the heart of all of that, and to be able to express themselves.
Yeah, and especially creativity-wise, we're getting to a point where technology can do so much that what sets us apart is our ability to think for ourselves and to think creatively and to push our ideas forward. You know, we can all type into a computer, but we have to think about what it is that we're putting in there in order to create what's going to come out of it.
You know what's so special and what I love about what you both mentioned is, yes, the arts is a tool, but to help children and students understand life, to build upon that, to deal with, like I mentioned, you know, to deal with a struggle or how to manage their time or how to face difficulty. And I think too often people don't look at the arts in such a mindset, you know, where they look at it as, oh, it's a creativity, they're very creative, wow, she can sing or he can sing, or wow, he or she can draw, but they don't see the work that was put behind it to get there. Even though they may have a natural skill set, but natural skill sets can only take you so far.
Practice.
Yeah, that's great. So coming over to you two young ladies, what does creativity look like in your programs day to day?
So what I really like about what we're doing right now is that creativity is just, it's a thing that we can see every single day. Like, I used to be part of RMS News, and that's something that we see every single morning on a day-to-day basis, you know. That's something that we have like the freedom to basically, not only like we implement our own decisions, and we basically are the head of the ship when it comes in that case, you know. And even with like the art show coming up, it's like, it's a really beautiful way to just show everybody, like not even just like your skills. This is like another representation of who you are and what your values are. Like, it's honestly, it's a valuable thing, and I'm really glad that we represent that in such a good way, especially like here where we're sitting right now. Like, it's a beautiful thing. I really enjoy it.
Very nice.
Kind of bouncing off what she's saying, one thing that I definitely see in both band and theater is that there are so many hours. Like you said, people look at it and think it's a way of expressing creativity and it's like something natural, but kind of like what differs from sports is that you're practicing hours for a game that's unknown or you don't really know what's going to happen. But with band and theater and the other arts is you're putting hours into something and with an expectation of an expected outcome. So for band, for example, you guys see a 5-minute show on the football field. But what you guys don't know is that that is hours and hours and hours of practice every week in the summer, 5 days at band camp. Same thing with theater. You guys see a 2.5-hour show on stage, but that is like every single day of rehearsal, tech week where you're spending 12-hour days at school on the weekend, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that looking at it on a closer scope, there's just so much hard work, dedication, like literally blood, sweat, and tears put into these performances. That's for entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And me, when I'm singing in the shower, I'm thinking I got a good voice or something. Right?
We all do, don't worry.
Right, okay, good. I'm not alone on that.
In the car.
In the car, yeah. So I want to jump off of what you both just mentioned. Mm-hmm. And I want you to think about a time where your work in the arts, the time you spent, can you think of a time where you used that as a flashpoint, as a reflection that helped you build the confidence you have?
So as like a Muslim woman who wears hijab, I'm like a visible representation of Islam and like a little bit of the culture that comes with it. But I'm gonna highlight like my time as drum major. As drum major, you're the physical representation of the band that you lead. So you're up on a podium and you're conducting in front of hundreds of people sometimes. You're leading people on and off the field. And I think that at drum major camp in 2024, I was the only hijabi in the room. I was like a very small minority. And I remember me and Sophie Manalides, the drum major I was working with at the time, we were chosen to present our conducting performance in front of parents. And I think to get a little vulnerable, I was a little bit nervous. It's very nerve-wracking to have to do that, especially in a community where like in Dearborn, there's a lot of people that look like me, but the moment you step outside, it's obviously not the same. So I remember doing it and I was like, my heart was like thumping a little bit, especially because I was just like standing out. And then that was that like reflection point for me. I was like, this has to be like, it's either a make or break, but I gotta make it. And I remember thinking like, from here on out, I have to like carry myself above and beyond and make sure I'm presenting myself like with the highest level of respect while also representing Islam and also representing the band that I led.
Very nice. You mentioned something about vulnerability.
Yeah.
I think anytime you step on a stage, you submit a piece of artwork, you put yourself out there for ridicule, you're going to be vulnerable because you're performing, and a lot of times what's the first thing people, sometimes the first thing people like to look for is what's wrong with something. And I know that vulnerability can play into your confidence and your mindset, but the fact that you're able to step out there, you're able to submit something, you're able to take that chance and be vulnerable and admit the vulnerability, you've already won half the battle. How have you seen or how have you witnessed over the years the confidence of students who probably entered your class or you saw in the hallways who were very timid and very quiet to becoming someone who became the spotlight?
Oh yeah, we get that all the time in art because so many students come into the class with the impression of I'm either good at it or I'm not. And if I'm not good when I walk in, that means I'm gonna fail at it. And we talk all the time about, this is a process, trust the process, do the steps, practice it, you will get better. This isn't about coming in great, this is about becoming better. And with the whole talk about vulnerability, we really want to have them experience that and learn how to deal with it because they're going to have to face that in the world. So coming into a safe space like our classrooms and being around other people who are experiencing it at the same time, they learn how to, have that moment, feel it and then be like, okay, so now how can I push forward? How can I, toughen up a little bit, build that muscle to get better at something?
It also really normalizes not being perfect, which I find is such a huge stress on our students in our community. They want to be perfect at everything. And the arts in general are very rarely showcasing stories of people who are perfect. That's not very interesting to watch. It's not very exciting. And I think you can see yourself in pieces of art, in stories, and our kids and the community can see themselves safely in those characters and wonder, what would I do in this situation? How would I do something differently? How am I like this person? How am I not? And then they build who they are and they become more confident. You know, a lot of times, very few people get the lead in a show, unfortunately. It's the hardest part of directing. But over 4 years, you see these kids who come in and they refuse to even audition. And then maybe their second year, they audition, but I don't want any part with lines. I just want to be in the back, you know? And then by the end, they're the leader of the club, or they're, you know, playing a big role or singing a song by themselves, and they just blossom. And it is the most addicting part of working in the arts.
We talk a lot about building community. You know, the idea that, you know, you always hear me say the Crestwood family, the Crestwood community. How do the arts build that sense of community?
I think that like kind of branding your community, or like I'm gonna bring up drama for example, right? Like we brand it as being like this like drama family, but it's not just a name. You have to put in work to like foster that. So we do something called monthly activities, where every single month an executive officer takes over like one activity, and it's like a different thing every month, and it has nothing to do with like drama related things. So it's like trivia, can be like an art night, game night, etc. And it brings everybody together under a different umbrella, but like still in the drama family, if that makes sense. And I think that doing things like that, where you're stepping outside of your like club or your organization's niche to still bring people together, because we're all human at the end of the day, and like finding those common interests and building those relationships with people are really important. And I think that really helps build that community, that family.
For me, when I started the program, my first goal was to create a family for kids that felt safe and open to be themselves and try new things. And my second goal was theater. And I think that's what I've learned, and maybe it's my secret, I'm not sure. A lot of people think that family comes from theater, right? Or family will come from a sport or family, but it really is the opposite. You create the family, and then good theater or good, you know, whatever the secondary thing comes from it. And then that's when it's really beautiful.
The extracurriculars too with art, when you're stuck in class all day, you're usually with the same group of people. You're with the same grade level, you're with peers who are at the same level if you're like in an advanced class. But when you get to art club, marching band after school, drama club, you're gonna have all different grade levels in there as well. So like our art club right now, we have 2 art clubs, 5th and 6th grade and 7th and 8th. 7th and 8th graders come to the 5th and 6th graders, and they help support those kids, and they encourage them, and they act as my, you know, little fingers throughout the classroom to help out. And it really gets kids outside of that comfort zone of just, this is my core group that I've traveled with since kindergarten. Now you're working with other people older and younger than you, and kind of getting a new sense of family, because now you're with other people that share a common interest beyond just we're all the same age.
Yeah. Not only that, now that builds confidence.
Yes.
Now that builds character, like we were saying earlier, you know? Like it has so much more benefits other than, oh, I know a skill, fantastic, you know? Like now we have character, now we have we can go into the world and trust ourselves and say, even if we do fail, like we can come back and do something even better.
And we see leaders showing up in places that you don't expect. So students who might not be leaders academically or might not be on the sports field. I have some student artists who come to the younger kids group, and suddenly they are a mentor because they have some different skills, and now they find themselves in a position of, oh, I'm actually can help other people with what I know, and it builds their confidence that way too.
So I think that is the sense of community, where you help each other build confidence. You help each other understand that we're not perfect. You help each other understand that we're all a little vulnerable. Because a lot of times what happens is when we begin to self-doubt, we feel that we're the only one that has that feeling, and we don't know where to turn or who to speak to. And that sense of building that community really does play a role. And something that you mentioned as a whole was that sense of community creates a product. It creates something. It's a togetherness. Because I'm sure after an art event or after a drama production, everybody's like, oh, that went really good. All right, where are we going for pizza? Like it's you know, it becomes that whole fun part. But briefly, what are some of the challenges that you face, like to build the art programs? What are some of the challenges you face to to get more people involved in the arts? Like, what are some challenges that are faced in the arts right now that you see or you foresee happening?
A lot of people, it's not very common where you find somebody just like blossoming with ideas and like this eagerness to step forward and like come and like do these many things at the start. A lot of people are fixed. A lot of people are kind of just like, here are my limits, and I don't expect to cross that. And it's hard to basically get somebody to take that step. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
You're good.
That's great. With theater, I think a lot of students come into high school thinking that they have to choose one thing to do, where I believe that you should try as many things as possible to see what you like, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you want to get better at. In our program, we work around schedules. I have kids on varsity and JV sports, other clubs, quiz bowl, all of those things. And I think realizing that there's a lot of different levels of participation that you can be, and if you want to be a part of it, there's a place for you there. And a lot of people think it's only singing and dancing on stage, and it's very overwhelming, but there's actually way more roles outside of that.
I think we see a lot of people get stuck too in the idea, I know we kind of touched on it a little earlier, was that it's not a core class. People aren't going to necessarily go into a career in one of these fields. But I've had so many former students contacting me later and being like, I've got my job, but then I go home and painting is my de-stressor. Or I have 2 students who have gone on to make their own comic books, and that's not their full-time job, but that's their side hustle. So I think that with the arts, trying to promote the idea that it's not just looking at what we do as this is your future career pathway. It's not necessary. These are going to be the things that you do when you're not at your job, like when you're driving home and singing in the car or in the shower, or if you're going, you're going to go and play instruments, or just even listening to music to de-stress, or being a part of another group, another theater group, or whichever. Maybe you'll be a YouTuber on the side as well. There's like whatever you might end up doing, these are the things that are not necessarily your career, but that doesn't mean that they're not any more valuable to the enrichment of your life in the future.
I have a really important one to add to that. I realized that I would love more help from our community and that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's exciting. I have noticed over the past, I think this is my 23rd year running the theater program, and the community just involvement has been a little bit of a steady decline in coming to the shows, maybe coming to band concerts. I'm not sure with the arts events, but we're seeing on our end less community members showing their support, and that is a way that we could use help. Show up, be there for the kids, see their amazing work that they're doing in all of these ways, because that's what allows us to do another one and then another one from there. That's the goal.
Show the support to the students who have spent those hours and hours and vulnerability moments and done all of this hard work. Just come and walk the art show for 20 minutes to see their stuff. Come and sit down and watch the show. Go to the band concert, go to the marching band, and don't get concessions during halftime. Watch the band perform. Be a part of that.
Yeah.
One thing that I've noticed like over the last 4 years is that like the sociological like effects of the stigma around this like supporting arts, and there's like many different ones, but I think there's like the stereotype, this persona that sometimes can come off negative to a community or the community in general. And I've watched the way like our enrollment has dipped through that, and I remember like thinking like having to come up with solutions, and I remember talking to parents was the biggest thing. Like getting a student to talk about their experience in the arts directly to parents is like way more beneficial than just talking about the art in general, because it's hard because we're in a society where you're hearing things from people back and forth, and you can't really control what's false and what's true. So I think like hearing it, like having to talk to parents from a direct student was really, really helpful in our enrollment process, like going on.
I think what's beneficial here at the Crestwood School District is we have successful programs. And we have leaders in these programs who can recruit and attract students to come into them. And then the students also do the same. They recruit and they attract more students. You know, from a superintendent standpoint, I know one of the biggest struggles that, you know, we're always constantly facing with the arts is scheduling becomes a problem because of so many Michigan Merit curriculum courses that students have to take, and when they have to take them and when they have to complete them by, and also financial, you know, budgeting and ensuring that there's enough budget set aside, you know, so that the programs can have the technology they need, the curriculum they need, the materials they need, the space they need. You know, and the nice thing is with the current bond, we're going to be able to expand and help in those areas because we're going to increase and we're going to enhance the technology, increase and enhance the material usage, the space usage. So that was a big key piece of that. And you know, it's something that I can tell you school districts across the nation are always trying to balance, so forth. And getting community to come out and to watch the events, you know, not just if their children are there, but you know, just to do it, so on and so forth. So, you know, however we can help to advertise and to push, you know, we have to work together on that.
From there.
And remember that the arts are going to help you improve all of the other areas of your life that are also important. Your relationships, your schooling, your education, your own, you know, feelings about yourself.
So
Kids who go through art programs do tend to test better, and they perform better in other classes because it's one of the few places where you can do math and science and English and social studies, and you get all of that in one room.
Oh, so true. Today, we saw what creativity truly looks like in action, our students and educators reminding us that the arts aren't just enrichment, they're empowerment. When students create, they discover their voice, they learn to collaborate, to problem solve, and to see possibilities where others see limits. That's the power of creativity in our schools, and it's alive and growing here at the Crestwood School District. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, keep the creativity and discourse going. And don't forget, follow us, like us. I keep saying it, make me YouTube famous. I gotta find a retirement plan or something. Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to talking to you again next time.